please lead us in the pledge?
Yes, I pledge allegiance to the
To the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty and justice
for all.
Keisha, I have to read my public announcement again, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of the Act, the Fort Lee Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published on August 6, 2020, and posted on the district website at www.flboe.com. Published in the board's designated online media outlet newspaper, The Record, filed with the clerk of the Borough of Fort Lee, and mailed to all persons, if any, who have requested said notice. Please be advised that this meeting is being taped and may be broadcasted on local TV and the district's website at a future date. The Open Public Meeting Act allows for remote participation at board meetings and defines meeting as any gathering, whether corporal or by means of communication equipment, which is attended by or open to all of the members of a public body, held with the intent on the part of the members of the body present to discuss or act as a unit upon the specific public business of that body. Roll call, please.
Ms. Cho,
Here.
Ms. Colback,
Here.
Mr. DeMeglio,
Here.
Ms.
Here.
Morel. I do see her. Ms. Richter,
Oh,
I'm here.
I didn't hear you.
Ramba,
Here.
Mr. Rubino, Ms. Tuck,
Here.
Ms. Han Silver.
I'm here.
Oh, she's back. Okay.
We have quorum.
I've got a flashlight, so I'm not in the dark.
And by way of communication, we do have 118 participants.
Where does it say that?
Great. All right, just give
Right
me,
on the bottom of the screen.
all right. Right.
Click on the bottom, Holly.
Everybody.
Where?
On the bottom of the screen. Click on the bottom.
Aha. Oh, look, there's little things there. Okay.
All right.
Click on it. Yeah.
As we start, I'm sorry, please bear with me. I don't know if you guys realize, but there's a section of town on the north end that has no power. So I'm part of that section of town. So I'm sitting here with a flashlight in the dark using my hotspot. Thank goodness for technology. Let me just start by saying that the board convened executive session at 6:45 today to discuss legal, personnel, and other confidential matters. Before I hand it over to Mr. Rhoda, he usually starts by sharing the superintendent's report. I'm going to preempt him initially by just saying something first. You know, at the end of the last meeting, we had talked about possibly starting to have in-person meetings. So that was something we had talked about doing at the end of last meeting. And so Mr. Rhoda and I actually started talking about doing that, having in-person meetings because they had started to allow in-person gatherings. So we did start talking about it. And then I think it was about a week ago, the governor limited in-person gatherings to 25 people. So then if we realized that with that limitation, if you look at the number of people that you see on the screen, that would severely limit the number of people who could actually attend and be in person with us. And we didn't want a scenario where, you know, 100, maybe 50, maybe not necessarily all 100 people who are participating with us tonight would actually show up to the high school, but maybe 50 of you would come. We didn't want to lock out 40 of you from actually coming in. We didn't want to have a situation where 40 of you would be stuck out in the parking lot because we could only let 10 of you come in and join us at the meeting. So that was one reason. The second reason is that, you know, if we started doing a hybrid in-person meeting, we would obviously have to change the format somehow. So we started looking at what other districts are doing. Some are doing where for the public comment portion where you actually email your questions or comments live. You're actually sending in an email and it's read by the board secretary, the board president, or some districts have a phone number where you could call in, or obviously we could do a hybrid Zoom meeting. We didn't want to do it for the very first time tonight, because I think tonight there's obviously a lot of interest. Mr. Rhoda announced the reopening plan last week, so we didn't want the very first meeting after the reopening plan was introduced to be the first time we tried a new format for our public Board of Education meeting, which is why we decided to stick to the tried and true Zoom format for everybody for tonight. So I just wanted to start off by explaining why we stuck to this method for tonight.
Can I ask a question? Can the
Sure.
public see us?
Yes, the public can see all of us.
Okay.
Yes.
I just want to make sure that they're able to see us.
Yep, they can see us. So I just, before we even started, I did want to give that explanation because we did start talking about it last week. I mean, not last week, but at the last meeting. So I just wanted to explain that first. So now we'll move on with the agenda and say, Mr. Rhoda, will you begin by sharing the superintendent's report?
Okay, thank you, Ms. Silver. I will start with just briefly saying the HIB report. Obviously, there's nothing to report from the last meeting. During the summer, we tend not to have those reports. The National Academy of Finance Award, our High School Academy of Finance program was awarded, I believe it is a $6,000 award for their performance on their testing that they are required to take part in at the end of the year. Didn't end up as smoothly as it usually does at the end of the year, but they were still able to perform admirably on the required test. And as a result of that and the development of the program and what they have accomplished, the program was awarded a $6,000. In essence, it's a grant. So we're happy to receive that. So
$5,000.
$5,000. Thank you, Ms. Taylor. The final thing I want to mention in my report is I received numerous questions and comments about the plan since it was released. So I want to go over a few things just to see if I can clarify some points, as I tried to do in a letter that I had sent out on Friday following the distribution of the plan. First, just to give you a little background, the plan was formed, I would say in April. The work on this plan started with the school administration, discussing it and coming up with ideas. During the course of the next 2 months, there were multiple meetings with teachers and parents to discuss different aspects of the plan, and a great many conversations and committee meetings going through there at different grade levels with different groups of people to try and come up with what they thought would be a plan that would work in the best possible format. So before we get started, I just wanted to say thank you to all those people who participated and gave input and provided their ideas to formulate this plan. It was definitely a team process from the ground up, and I appreciate all the support and the ideas that came in. And now just to address what I see are the most common questions that I've been getting. Number one was about the parent survey that was sent out to ask if parents chose to have their child enrolled in a 100% remote instruction option that was provided. And I apologize if there was any confusion with this. However, the parents who are staying in the hybrid program did not need to reply, but a number did, and that's fine. We have those answers. More importantly, the parents who are opting for the full 100% remote did reply, and those results have been recorded and are being shared with the building principals so they can make adjustments as necessary based upon class enrollments. As of right now, based on the results we have, roughly 20 to 22% of our students have opted to participate in 100% remote instruction. I had asked the parents to complete that survey by the end of this week, so we're still getting some more in, and by the end of this week, we'll hopefully be able to finalize some numbers there. As I informed many parents, if you completed the survey and have changed your mind, that's fine. It's no problem. All you need to do is to contact your building principal, the principal where your child would be attending school, and just inform them that at one point I chose to be remote, and now I'd like to do the hybrid, and just put your child's name and grade in there, or the reverse. If you were decided to stay with the hybrid combination program, and now you'd like to do 100% remote, just inform them of that so they can account for that moving forward and we look at our class list. So I apologize if there's any confusion there, but that's really what it comes down to. And the quickest way to remedy that, if you've changed your mind or if you are still unclear, is just to contact the principal directly. Just send them an email and let them know what your intention is. Please just include your child's name and grade, and then they'll be able to add it into the mix moving forward. The second thing I want to just address is the virtual online instruction piece. Whether you be 100% remote or remote in your cohort, there are some questions about what this would look like. And one of the questions was, will my child go to school 5 days a week? And yes, the answer is yes, they will be expected to participate either in person, or if they're remote, then through remote means 5 days a week. The online and virtual instruction is going to be a combination of live instruction, pre-recorded activities and lessons, and other online activities, which will obviously that are grade and age appropriate for the students, but that will be available for them to participate in. So it will be a mixed combination of all those things that they will experience on a daily basis. The goal will be to provide every student with some live instruction every day. And so I was hoping to clarify that. I know there were some questions about that. The final thing I want to mention is that as part of this ongoing process of moving forward, we're going to set up some building level meetings to have a smaller group and discussion about questions that may come up, rather than try and do it all at a board meeting. You may not get your opportunity to speak, or you may not be able to attend, but I'm going to set up with the building principals or a similar Zoom format meeting with all the buildings, probably through the PTA or some other way of just inviting parents to participate once again and ask questions and be comfortable with what we have going forward. So that's the final piece that will be coming out shortly. You'll be invited to attend based upon the school that your children participate in. So that's all I have right now, Ms. Silver.
You're muted.
Still
Esther,
muted.
you're on mute.
Still muted.
Sorry, I had to borrow my daughter's Chromebook. So I'm trying to like learn a totally different computer right now.
I know.
Okay, thank you, Superintendent Rhoda. Do we have any committee reports?
I have. The curriculum committee met in late July. We reviewed the reopening plans, although what we reviewed at that time is not the final plan that went out. And if I could digress for just a second, I wanted to thank Ken and Sharon and team for being able to pivot so quickly as new information comes out from the governor's office. And it's clear that the governor is getting a lot of pressure from various sides, mandatory virtual, or people that think that it's mandatory that kids have to be in school. And that is a segue into the next point. We reviewed the results of the parent survey, and thank you to all of the parents who took the time to complete that. And there was quite a breakdown within the district, about a third, and a third in terms of hybrid, virtual, and full-time in-person wishes. We also had a chance to get an update. A few meetings ago, we unanimously passed a racial justice resolution, and Dr. Amato provided an update. She spoke with supervisors, and for example, they're working on creating projects at each grade level focused on social justice. There was also a group of students that came forward to suggest an equity council of both students and staff. Currently, there's an equity team in the district, volunteer teachers and administrators that have been doing some fantastic work prior to the resolution. But this, I think, is a fantastic idea to include students in that, we are also looking to form an official subcommittee on this topic. The other note I had here was related to, I don't know, multiple board members were present at the countywide School Boards Association meeting. And I think the one thing that related to both that and our curriculum meeting was boards thinking about how we're going to track progress of students that are virtual only versus hybrid only. And unfortunately, there's been no formal guidance from the Department of Education on how to best assess students and find potential learning gaps, but that's something that we're working on. There's much to consider when addressing the impact of this pandemic on public education, that, you know, regardless, safety and academic excellence are the bedrock of our plan. That concludes my report. Thank you, Esther.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Tuck.
Ms. Silver, I have a Finance Committee report. Please bear with me. I don't have all my notes with me. So committee, Ralph and Elise and Esther and of course Akeisha. We're happy to report that we received our pilot money, correct, Ms. Taylor? We're very happy that we got that from the town. Also, the money that we lost from the state, we actually can cover that in capital reserve. We're fortunate that, thank goodness for Ms. Taylor, that we have a very healthy capital reserve. We also did save some money with no night crew, not using the water, electricity. So for right now, I know there was something else, Akeisha, and I can't remember because I had my notes in my book someplace else.
Well, I will clarify that the reduction in state aid will be covered by unassigned fund balance as opposed to capital reserve.
Sorry.
So our fund balance will go from a use of $912,000, which is what you will see on the budget report if you go look at our website and the budget presentations. It will go from 912 to 912,000 plus the gap, which was 353,000 around. So now to plug that hole, we will be using unassigned fund balance. So our unassigned fund balance use will go from 912,000 to 1.2 million. But that sounds good. Everything else was right on point.
Thank you. That's it, Ms. Silver.
Great, thank you very much. All right, I think that was it for committee reports. So now next, do board members have questions or comments on tonight's agenda or any other topic?
I do.
All right.
So,
Yes.
we have on our agenda I want to say young man, but no, maybe not that young. I have to figure it out. That has been in our district for many years. I've been very fortunate as a board member to know him, but more fortunate as a mom. Both my boys had him as a teacher. He's grown and contributed to our district immensely. I'm very proud of him that he's gotten the acknowledgement of this position that he's been recommended for. He's been the head of a club that's very near and dear to me, the GSA. I think he's on the equity team with Lauren. And I just want to say how happy and proud I am for Stephen Dominguez. I know his mom is on, so congratulations, Mrs. Dominguez. You have a wonderful son. And he's contributed so much to our school district. I can only see the best of future for him. So.
Mr. Rhoda, I just had one question on the reopening plan. Can you hear me? When you said about the parents can change their mind, how far into the year can they change their mind? If they're doing remote and then decide in November that they don't want to be doing remote, are they going to be able to change that as easily?
Well, I asked and I stated in the plan that we would like parents to maintain their decision at least till the end of the marking period. And if they want to change, give the building principal prior notice. And at the end of the marking period, we would make any changes either to fully remote or into the hybrid
Max
situation.
number size, yeah, if people change their mind. All right, thank you.
Okay, I have a couple of questions.
You're muted, Ms. Colbath.
You got muted, Paula.
Sorry. I had a couple of questions. Candy just mentioned the pilot, the payment in lieu of taxes, and that the borough, as I understand it, we had entered into a 2-year sharing agreement with them, and a payment was split over 2 years. Is that right? 3 years.
3 years.
And are we 2 years into that, or we just finished our final payment?
So that was the second year. So we received the fiscal year 20 allocation was $471,000, and we received that in July. And we're entering our third. The amount for
Okay.
the amount for the third year is $524,000 by the end of 2021.
And then after we receive that payments from the municipality, there's no contract in place and it's totally discretionary?
I think Ken and I had hoped that, you know, the board members would discuss perhaps discussing with the municipality to enter into a new agreement, but that hasn't been discussed as yet.
Okay, because if we're coming down to that last year, so no negotiation. I mean, I don't think that the board sat in meetings with the mayor and council to establish that first agreement. So has there been any effort to negotiate it? Because I think the pilot is for 20 years. So the 3 years, I mean, that was all wonderful free money that our mayor and council gave to us, but the balance is another 17 years. And so no efforts have been made. Ken, are you going to make some outreach to our mayor and council to get
Yes.
those discussions started?
We haven't had the opportunity to have that discussion based on other situations, but yes, we were going to reach out and ask them to sit down and go through it again. And whether it's another 1 year or 3 year, see what kind of deal we can arrange.
And so that's something that will get jump started fairly soon.
Yes.
And then on the reopening plan, I've been contacted, as I'm sure many board members have, about the plan. And I understand you said that there will be some live stream instruction and there will be pre-recorded online and other activities. Can you give us some more detail as to how the remote learning piece will be different from the spring by, you know, okay, a teacher will live stream every day for 2 hours, 3 hours, something so that someone could make an actual judgment as to whether they think the quality of the live stream will approximate what goes on in a classroom?
Well, I would start by saying that I don't think any type
Or
of
let me
remote-
just add, are we setting any expectations for our teachers as to how much live streaming they will do?
As I was saying, as I was about to say, I don't believe that any remote instruction can replace the in-classroom instruction that we're missing, we've been missing and sorely missing in the future. That being said, I think it'll be a big improvement over the spring process because of, you know, the spring was novelty and thrust upon us, and that now teachers have had a chance to prepare. We have an ongoing professional development going on right now where our teachers are working with their colleagues to go over and instruct them in different areas and different strategies and using different remote techniques. So for example, I know there's classes on advanced Google Classroom and how to use that more effectively with your students. So there are a lot of things. As I said earlier when I started this, I said our goal is to have some form of live instruction every day for every student. We haven't quantified that to say that it'll be an hour, 2 hour, 3 hours. One thing we have to consider, obviously, it will be age dependent and grade dependent. It's appropriate for those students. I think as the students get older, they are more able to sit and progress through that. But there will be, we are right now working on specific guidelines for the staff, specific expectations of what's going to happen as we move forward. We started with a large plan, and now we are fine tuning and moving down to the more specific details of how all this works. So right now, I couldn't tell you that it's going to be 2 hours a day at grade 2 and 3 hours a grade and vice versa. But we are putting those plans into place and fine tuning that, working with our teacher groups as well.
But will the time be consistent? So if there's one teacher in the second grade that wants to do 3 hours of live streaming, every second grade teacher throughout the district will be expected to do 3 hours? Or will it be?
No, the goal is to be much, much more consistent than we were in the spring. And just like you're saying, across grade levels, one of the reasons that we're suggesting and using the plan with a half-day model is so that teachers will have direct time to work together for planning. And a big part of that planning time will be used to make sure there is consistency going across the grade levels and what's happening in all the different classrooms. So we wanted to give that opportunity because that's going to be ongoing as long as we're in this type of situation.
And is it our plan to have separate in-person and separate remote teachers?
I think it will depend on the grade level. At the elementary level, the remote teacher and the in-person teacher will probably be the same person. Based on the numbers of teachers that are available, I should say, for that, once we process teachers who may not be returning or may be wishing to do 100%, we may be able to assign a teacher different responsibilities. We're still getting that feedback from the teachers. Also, depending upon the number of students who opt for the full-time remote, that will definitely impact how the classes function as well, because that's going to have a real definite effect if the classes are much, much smaller than we anticipated, and that'll be very positive for those students in the building. They'll get a lot more hands-on, and obviously for safety as well. So there's a couple of things that are still being monitored that are going to impact that. But the goal is to have much more specific, structured time on task and time live for all the students moving forward.
And two other common things that came up. I've been asked, how is the sanitization gonna increase since March? Like, what else are we doing that we weren't doing in March?
Well, we're just doing the same things we've done and more of it. We're using the cleaners, wiping down the hard surfaces, the high contact areas. You know, the difference was since March, we haven't had to do a lot of cleaning. No one's been in the building. But when we come back, custodians will be moving through the buildings at every opportunity to clean the high contact areas like doorknobs, door handles. One of the issues that came up was water fountains. Do we turn off the water fountains, or do we just have an effort of trying to clean them on a regular basis? That's something I think we're going to work out with the building principals, depending on the location of the fountains. And once again, if they have staff, if there's a staff member who's not particularly assigned, they may have an assignment of, you know, cleaning the water fountain and help out the custodians as they're doing their thing. So there'll be regular cleaning going on during the course of the school day when space is available, and especially, like I said, the high contact areas. Once that is completed, once the school day is completed, the custodians will move into the classrooms, cleaning all once again, and cleaning and disinfecting. There are 2 steps here. We use the wipe down method of the contact areas, the desks, the doors, anything that could come in contact with the students. And then secondly, afterwards, they'll be disinfected using our mist disinfecting guns we've had for a couple of years now that we're very effective in getting a lot of coverage to the building. So that'll happen every day going through on a regular basis.
And I had sent around that virtual Wednesday, the guidance that Tenafly published, that closing down for a day really has no medical benefit. I mean, I didn't have a chance to check in with you on that, but could you address that? Because I think other people in the public have it and are curious why we would close entirely on Wednesdays.
Yeah, I just had a chance to look at that before the meeting, and that was from Tenafly. I don't know Tenafly's specific situation as far as class size and numbers and things like that, and number of students opting out. That came out of the discussion in the committees working with parents and teachers. I'll be honest, that wasn't my idea. It came to me from those committees that they thought this was an important, safety measure to do that, to allow an extra level of cleaning to occur between the cohorts coming into the building, and also to kind of prep the students in the event that we do need to move quickly into a fully remote situation. Once again, you know, just as far as that goes, not to digress, but depending on the specific health situation and the direction we receive from the Department of Health, we may be talking about a class or a grade level or an entire building moving into remote instruction very quickly if we were to have a student or a staff member who exhibited symptoms and tested positively. So by having the students basically practice this process every Wednesday, they'd be more easily acclimated to that in the event we have to make a quick change over to that. And as I said, that would be obviously guided by our consultation with the health department. But and hopefully that will never be the situation, but we want to be prepared for it just in case. So that's really the rationales that I have to put forward there.
Thank you.
Can I ask a couple questions actually, Esther?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, I'm actually kind of, Paula, writing off of your comment with Tenafly. You know, Fort Lee, we're actually 11th out of 70 municipalities when it comes to coronavirus cases. So Fort Lee, as of August 7th, had 525 cases versus Tenafly, which has 179 cases. I don't know if numbers have changed in the past few days or not, but just on that number alone, it does seem like we have a significant number of more cases or exposure to the virus than we do with other districts. That being said, how easy is it for students who decide to go forward with hybrid to flip into remote? Is that something that they could do the next day? Because I know you know, you have to wait till the next semester to go from remote to hybrid, but what would be the time frame to do the opposite?
I think, you know, one of the advantages of the plan we have in place is that if a student, let's say, there's a suspicion, maybe they're symptomatic, maybe it's fall allergies, could be anything, but we opt on the safe side and tell the student, you know, we need to have a test, and that student could immediately go into remote instruction.
I guess because the concern is a lot of, I believe the statistic, it's 20% are actually asymptomatic. And we've had over 300,000 cases with children in the US so far. So obviously safety is paramount. And I just didn't know if we are relying on the health department. I don't know if we are privy to what the R number is in terms of our town, or if there's any way for us to get that kind of information from her as well.
I don't know if that, I can call her tomorrow and ask. She's been very cooperative. I don't know if that information is public record, but I will ask. I've spoken to Ms. Scarpa multiple times over the last few weeks. Matter of fact, this morning we've discussed some issues. She's been very helpful and very supportive of everything in the school, and really has, you know, more or less opened her door and give me the basic direction. Call me whenever you have a question. So I will call her tomorrow and ask her about that.
Thank you.
I have a question. So how are we going to make sure that social distancing, especially among the younger age students, is going to be reinforced? Because that's kind of difficult. I mean, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking that's going to be kind of difficult. You know, for kindergartners and first grade and second graders, that's kind of hard to explain. The other thing is, I was just wondering, was any other, I don't know, methods or tools put into our schools, like automatic paper towel dispensers or handless sinks or handless soap dispensers? Was anything put in, you know, extra, like, you know, as extra precautions?
Well, not so much as a precaution, but several years ago, we moved away from having paper towels to using electronic hand dryers, so that there wouldn't be any of that. Just recently, though, since I would say a month ago, I think I informed the board that Mr. Bendel was looking to replace a lot of faucets, particularly in the primary grades, with touchless faucets, so that students could have ease in washing their hands more efficiently rather than worrying about it. And he had ordered, I received, about 3 dozen of those, and they were being moved into the elementaries in the primary areas, obviously for the younger students to use who have the most difficulty. As far as the first part, I don't have a great answer for you, Ms. Morel. It's going to be very challenging for the younger students to get them to understand what social distancing means, why they can't hug their teacher, very simple things like that they've always done in the past. It's going to be a challenge, and it's going to be a big learning curve for a lot of students, even going up through the ages. But at those primary grades, it's going to be even more difficult.
Yeah. I mean, I just coming out of the high school and with all due respect to high school kids, I mean, they love hanging out at the lockers together, and they like walking together. And you had mentioned something about them having to walk one way or something like that, and I just see a lot of nonconformists.
Well, the older kids will understand much better and be much easier to work with as far as moving them through the buildings quickly. Once they leave the building, that's a whole nother story as far as who's hanging out at McDonald's or Jersey Mike's, those type of things.
Yeah.
But the younger kids will be much more challenging. It's going to be, teaching them a whole new routine, which they're not accustomed to.
Mm-hmm.
Something that we take for granted is fire drills. The kids are trained from an early age how to conduct a fire drill, and they do it very well, very efficiently. The younger grades, they hold hands so that they stay together. So it's going to be a complete retraining for them just to conduct drills. And we were informed by the DOE that we will be required to have our drills every month. There will be some flexibility in the types of drills. So hopefully, initially, we won't be really forced to do certain things. We'll be doing different kind of paper drills as we move forward. But yeah, there's going to be a big learning curve and a big learning restructuring particularly for the younger students to try and understand.
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly add to that point. I'm glad you're going to do the individual sessions with each building so everybody has time to dive into this, because while the high school kids might go to McDonald's, for those of us with elementary school kids, they go right to the playground afterwards. So, getting clear guidelines on when we can use school grounds, or, because each parent is going to be able to make their own decisions, and hopefully in the best interest of public health, but there's a lot to consider.
Right, because even the parents in the elementaries, they tend to gather out right in front of the school to pick up the kids, like anywhere from like 15 to 20 minutes ahead of time, so.
Yeah, and that's going to be a learning, experience for parents as well. To maintain their distance and wear masks as required, those type of things.
Okay. I don't know if any other board members have questions or comments. All right.
The only thing I would add, President Hansover, is a motion. Is there a motion to amend item 6P to postpone the formal appointment of Gina Ruesga until additional compensation has been negotiated and finalized? Is there a motion?
Motion Colbath.
Second, Morel.
Okay, roll call, Ms. Cho.
No.
Ms. Colbath.
Yes.
Mr. DeMeglio.
Yes.
Ms. Morel.
Yes.
Ms. Richter.
Yes.
Ms. Ramba.
Yes.
Mr. Rubino.
Yes.
Ms. Tuck.
Yes.
Ms. Hansilver.
Yes.
Okay, the motion does pass. Thank you.
Ms. Silva, can I just make one comment before we start and open it to the public?
Sure.
I just wanted to thank Mr. Roeder and everybody that was involved in getting this plan together. I know it took a lot of time and energy to get the plan together, and it wasn't easy. But thank you for doing this and getting it aligned with what the governor and the CDC set out in their guidelines. I know it was a lot of time, so thank you.
To everybody who worked on this. you know, I think even like Mrs. Tuck mentioned in the survey, you know, it was kind of like 30, 30, 30. It was one of those things where no matter what the plan was, you're going to hit at least 30% minimum of people who did not like your plan. So that's kind of, it's a tough way to work, knowing that you're going to face, you know, a large group of people who are not happy. You know, some people want more, some people want less. I think they had to come up with a plan that tried to be as safe as possible for the students and the staff. You know, I think that's one thing we have to remember. You know, the kids aren't coming into buildings staffed by robots. You know, they're coming into buildings with district employees who will be there, you know, every day. Some of them will have to be there every day, actually. So, you know, it was a tough challenge for everyone. So we do appreciate the input that everyone gave into the plan. All right, so may I have a motion to?
Well, let me just add, you know, we certainly thank them, but I would hope that we would do whatever we can to increase the instruction time for our students. In the old norm, the traditional hours were like 8 to 3. And I understand we have complications with lunch and other things, but if every teacher has the capability to live stream instruction, I think it's incumbent on us to come up with a plan that gives the most instruction time possible for the students that we serve.
And one thing I will add also is that to consider, you know, the plan will be reassessed regularly. We're going to be looking to make improvements, and hopefully, as the situation changes for the better, I'll be the optimist, that we'll be able to adjust the plan accordingly, just as Ms. Colbert said, to increase more contact time with the students. That's the ultimate goal here, is to return to what we are accustomed to. So we'll be monitoring the plan in conjunction with our pandemic situation.
Exactly. It's definitely a fluid work in progress. So may I have a motion to open the floor to the public?
Motion.
Motion,
Morel.
Colbath.
All right. Motion, Colbath, I believe second by Morel. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed or abstentions? All right, so for those of you listening in the public, Board Secretary Keisha Taylor will share how public session will be conducted.
Good evening. We will use the raise hand feature of Zoom to identify the order in which public comments will be shared. If you have a public comment to share, please select participants from the bottom center of your Zoom screen. From there, select raise hand from the bottom right-hand corner. I will recognize each community member in the order of the raised hands by lowering the hand and unmuting the microphone if it is muted. Please then state your name and home address for the record and begin your comments. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. I will be timing the comments. We do have 149 participants tonight. We welcome the public participation, but please ask that you honor the 3-minute timeline, and I will share with you when that time has expired. In the event that you'd like additional time, that is something that would need to be granted by a board member. Are there any public members who would have comments on tonight's agenda? Please raise your hand. I will start with Julene.
Can you hear me, Keisha?
We can.
Okay, good evening. I want to try to be as diplomatic as possible in a very serious situation here. I respect all the teachers. I respect the parents. Having nothing to do with what I feel and what I want for my children. I am in total awe of this plan. I'm just shocked that a school district like Fort Lee can be okay with the parents who want their kids to go to school. Not saying the other half, because that they can stay there. They wanted to stay home. How 4 hours twice a week? Did anybody consider parents, to family, incomes, to parents that work, how this is going to affect households? I mean, did anybody approve this on the board? Did you even know about this before it was sent out? I'd like to know who knew about this before it was sent out. The other problem I have is I was on a call for the intermediate school, and Wednesday was emphatically discussed against having off. So Mr. Rhoda, your comment about you didn't know about this and it was brought to you, not from the intermediate school. I just don't understand how 4 parents in each school could make you devise such a plan. Did we look into doing half in the morning, half at night, 5 days a week? Did we ask our community, do you want to stay home or do you want to go? Other districts gave them the option. You either stay home or you come. And that gave the 50%, enough space to have school full time. And just because my time is running out, I want to discuss the teachers. I don't think it's fair to keep them in the dark. I feel that they need advising and they need, to hear from you, Mr. Rhoda, what they should be doing, because it's not fair to blame our teachers if they have no direction. And let me tell you, it sounds like there's no plan tonight. I mean, it sounds like there's no plan.
What happened? Oh no.
I apologize.
Jolene, you went on mute.
Julie, are you still there?
I'm unmuting myself. I just feel like we can't blame the teachers if we don't give them proper guidance. And at the 5-month mark, which would be in 3 days, how do we not have cameras in each room? Why should the teachers be responsible to go home after and reteach? What are the kids at home going to be doing while the teachers are teaching? I mean, I don't think this was thought out. I mean, I'm a former teacher of a master's in education, and I gave solid, advice, which was backed up by many parents who are on this call tonight. I hope they're going to speak up. And I just feel like not enough was done. Not enough was taken into consideration when picking a 2-day plan. The high schoolers are going to be every 10 days. I mean, my daughter's leaving the district. She's going 5 full days. She's eating lunch. I mean, it's every other week, but it's a full day. It's a grab and go lunch. Why do we have to follow Tenafly? Why doesn't Fort Lee just stand up and say, we're going to do this? Why do we always have to follow? Because they give off Wednesday, we're giving off Wednesday. I'm very disappointed.
I apologize.
I know.
Has expired.
That's it. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Julene. I can go to the next person.
Am I going to get an answer? Is Mr. Rhoda going to say anything?
Julene, I will say that, and of course this is the pleasure of the board, but there are 151 participants. Yeah. It is public comment.
Okay, so you don't get an answer. I got it.
I mean, that's just my personal.
Yeah, you're right. Thank you. Thank you, Keisha. I get it. Have a good night.
Thank you. Next up, we will have Sherry Montalto.
Okay. How you doing? Wait.
Echo.
Okay. Oh. Can you guys hear us? All right, good. Well, first off, this is.
Nope.
I can't hear.
You're muted.
Go. Hello, you can hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Now.
All right. So again, this is definitely not thought out, because when I look at what you guys put out for what you're going to be teaching our kids in these so-called 2 half days, I don't see anything about learning math, science, English. I see teachers want to teach about mental health and stress and that kind of stuff. That's what you put in your memo to teach our kids. And we're only going to have them for 4 hours a day. And then they're going to go on to aftercare for 5 hours a day. Is there going to be aftercare from 1 to 6? You're going to have 9 to 1 during the day for 2 days a week, and then 1 to 6 in aftercare. And then what are we supposed to do with our kids for the other 3 days? What are we supposed to do with them? I mean, I work 8 to 6. My wife works 8 to 6. What do I do with our kids for 3 days? Does anybody have a plan for that? Is there like a facility that we're going to send our kids to? Because doesn't the state have to provide with our tax money that we pay? We pay your salaries. We pay your salaries. We pay the teachers' salaries. So why can't you guys just check temperatures through the door and have these people and have the kids come into the schools? I work in a facility. I've been working since May, and we have over 100 patients a day coming in and out of our facilities. 100 patients a day. You know what we do? We check the temperatures. And guess what? Not a single person in our office caught COVID. Not a single one. We have a staff of over 30 people. Nobody's caught it. All you have to do is check temperatures. A thermal temperature gauge, boom, takes 2 seconds. Anybody has 98.6 temperature or above, you send them to the doctor, you turn them around. And then what do you plan on educating our children on? What subjects are you teaching them? What?
I have a comment as well to add to my husband. The fact that Fort Lee has so many facilities, there's 2 rec centers. Why can't, if there's such an issue of teaching our children that they're going to be too close in classrooms, why can't then we extend maybe the rec centers, for example, that are so large, and the community center that aren't being used? Why can't we have classrooms there? Why can't we have trailers? Why can't we do something where our children now are out of school? We're going on 6 months.
They're suffering.
The fact that, like the woman said before us, first of all, most parents work. Even when we were home for the beginning of COVID, our children were not being taught correctly. No fault of the teachers. Teachers were excellent. But this is not an education to our children. Absolutely not. It is not a way of life. And I don't think this was thought out at all, even as far as parents, when we have to work to make a living. So what do? We all have to stay home and lose our jobs, and then we're not helping our children at all because they're still not being educated more than a few hours a day.
Your time has expired.
Mm.
Thank you. The next raised hand is Gina. Gina, I will promote you to panelist and you can show your video and or speak.
Yeah. Gina.
Gina. Are you there?
He's muted, it looks like.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. Hello.
Please share your comment.
My name is Gina Pacheco. I'm a parent and I'm also a preschool director in Fort Lee. I just have a few questions. And so the first thing is, if the children are required to wear a mask all day, how will they have snack? Will they have snack? The second question is, what will the live streaming be dependent on? Will all the parents have to consent to that? And if they don't, will it not be available? Another one is, what is the procedure to withdraw from school completely to homeschool? And then my fourth question is personal to me because both of my children have special needs. And I don't think that what is being offered is an appropriate education, so I will be homeschooling them. What type of reimbursement will we get? Because they are entitled to a free and appropriate education, public school education. But if that's not available or what's being offered is not suitable, do I now have to get a lawyer to sue the school district to be reimbursed for everything that it's going to cost me to educate my children? So those are my questions. I would really like to know about the masks and the snack, as well as what you will offer for parents homeschooling, because who have children that have special needs.
The plan right now is for all students to wear masks during the day. If a student, obviously, if there's a snack provided, the students will be allowed to remove their mask for that time period. Hopefully, if they're outdoors, that would be the best place to do it, if we can arrange that during recess or those other appropriate times.
Okay.
As far as the homeschooling of students, that's a parental choice. If you choose to homeschool, the only obligation is that you just notify the district that that's your choice.
Right, but with all due respect, the reason that I'm choosing to homeschool my children that have special needs is because an appropriate education is not being offered. And IDEA says that kids are entitled to a free and appropriate public education. So what is going to be offered to parents like me? You know, they're going to need related services. And, you know, I will have to pay for that out of pocket. You know, all these things that they're not going to get. Will my child be able to go to school just for related services, even if I homeschool them?
If you choose to homeschool, the school is under no obligation then to provide services. However, before you make that decision, I would contact your child's case manager and talk about the specific program that will be in place for next year and any services, and have that discussion with the case manager before you make any decisions.
Okay, and what is the formal withdrawal procedure for gen ed, or like, you know, for any child?
To withdraw just is a parental notification.
To the principal or to the Board of Ed?
To the principal is the most effective.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Now we will have Howard Lipoff. Howard?
You're muted.
Okay. Do you see me?
We
Yeah,
do.
Okay.
We see you.
Hello. Great. Hello, everybody. Nice to see all of you. I've been seeing you. Now you can see me. Yeah, and my name's Howard Lipoff. My home address is 161 Main Street in Little Falls. I'm a teacher at the intermediate school and treasurer of the Fort Lee Education Association. My question, I think, is for Ms. Taylor. You said that the money that the district's losing in state aid, which I believe is 10%. Could you confirm if it's 10%? And it seems to be coming, or you said it's coming from an unassigned fund balance. What is that? What's that mean? Is that the same as a surplus?
Yes.
And, oh, okay. And was this, originally we were scheduled to get an increase over last year, I believe. So where are we now? Are we back to where was the state aid amount that we would have gotten in, that we did get for the 1920 school year? Could you explain?
Yes, so good questions, Howard. We still actually have an increase. So the increase was going to be $525,000, and forgive me for not being specific, but the increase was scheduled pre-COVID to be $525,000. The increase is now $163,000. So there is still a slight increase of state aid, just not as much as we anticipated or budgeted for.
And that's why you need to go into the surplus, which was sufficient. Will there still be a surplus after taking this, I think, $350,000 out?
There will be.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's my only question. Have a
You're
good
welcome.
night, everyone.
Thanks, Howard. Okay. The next public member to speak is Victoria Kim. Victoria, I'm going to promote you to panelist. Feel free to show your video and share your public comment. Victoria?
Hello. Hi.
Hi.
Hi, this is Victoria. Oh, let me turn on the video. Okay. Today, I probably, like all the BOE board members and PTA leaders, received my email listing all the items that to be answered about the school reopening. And I had a meeting with Mrs. Giacomelli, our principal, and she answered most of them. But the main primary issue here is that the definition of a live instruction is very vague, and the view that Mr. Rhoda is seeing is different from what Mrs. Giacomelli is planning. So what I heard today is that currently with School One planning, full remote students will only receive the morning meeting, which you do like Pledge of Allegiance and maybe share the social emotional piece together, and that's it. No actual live teaching will be provided to those remote students, which means then all the students who chose to do opted to participate 100% remote will be neglected, and they will not get any of those live instruction that Mr. Rhoda is mentioning in the plan. So I would like to know what would be exact guideline and expectation about live instruction and live teaching. And we do demand all school PTA members, well, at least I should say executives, demand that a remote instruction teacher should be assigned to provide a good, like, live teaching instructions, 1 hour, 2 hour, or 3 hours, just like as they would teach in class. Those should be provided, and otherwise with current format that School One is planning at this time, I mean, it may change, but at this time, most likely teacher will be just prepared for in-person, and all the full remote students will be, only receive links for the lesson, and they have to learn by themselves. That's the comment that I have.
I cannot speak for Mrs. Giacomelli, but I will tell you that her plan for School One will change when I do speak with her.
Okay, so you do, I mean, you do have to have the live actual teaching instruction in the plan.
Yeah, as I've said twice tonight already, that's the goal of the plan, is to have live instruction for every student every day.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Rhoda.
Thank you, Victoria. Okay, the next person is Katie Q. Eller. I will promote you to panelist. Please unmute your microphone and share your comment.
Hi, this is Katie on Linwood Avenue. As a parent that's joining with a kindergartner that's starting in the fall, who obviously left daycare very abruptly, I'm really concerned about the mental health of our children and the program that's being allotted. From the beginning, I wanted my child to go back to school. I came from a school of parents that were all teachers, my parents, my siblings, everybody, and I'm really concerned about their health and making sure that we're keeping everybody safe. But I'm really concerned about the mental health of the younger kids. And the high schoolers and the middle schoolers have all proven that they can do classes online and that they are very with it with social media. But our kindergartners, my child cannot be on Zoom for 5 minutes without losing interest. And for me, 2 days for 4 hours is not enough. And they need that interaction with their teachers. They need that one-on-one. They need to have social interaction with the other kids, even if it is, at the school social distance. She has no problem wearing a mask. She has no problem washing her hands and doing those things because at home we're teaching those things. And I want her to go to school and I want it to be available. We're two working parents. I'm an essential worker. I've worked through the pandemic and we have made this something that we are very aware of and she's aware of. And I just don't think that 2 days a week at 4 hours is enough and is appropriate for the little kids. And I'm wondering why we haven't reached out to a lot of the local businesses. You have LG, you have everything up farther north that has office buildings that are not being used. They're letting all of their parents work from home. And why can't we use some of these facilities for the kids? And another parent came on earlier and talked about the rec centers. Why can't we have, kindergarten through third grade being 5 days a week? Even if it's just mornings 5 days a week or just afternoon 5 days a week, I think that'd be more beneficial for the children, and having high schoolers do everything remotely or giving them an option of it all afternoon. But I think it's really important, especially to the younger kids that are joining the school for the first time, to make this experience something that is, memorable and good for them. And having them be at home 2 days a week for 4 hours, be their only time at school, I just don't think that the message is going to get across to them. I'm also wondering exactly what the protocols are in the kindergarten and first grade classes when we do have the younger children going to school, how we're dealing with the interactions and parents and pickup and drop off and things like that. I think there's a lot of things.
Thank you, Katie. Your time has expired.
Obviously, as we said before, the primary grades are going to be the most challenged. We are trying to right now plan an orientation for the kindergarten parents, and the buildings will have to plan that and are planning those specific questions like you asked about drop off and pickup, because that's going to vary building to building, and that's something we'll be working out, and the principals are working on now with Mr. Bendel, who's our Director of Security in Buildings and Grounds, to make sure that we have appropriate egress into the building with the ease of pickup and dismissal of the students. That's obviously ties into our safety concerns. It's going to be a challenge, particularly at the younger level, to have the students acclimate to that. I do agree with that. One of the questions, though, that comes up is, even if we had more space, we don't have the staff to spread out into multiple other spaces unless we were to hire a large number of teachers. So we're limited in that, and we're limited in the number of hours that we assign those teachers. So even if we had space available, we would not have the staffing there without having to try and go back and hire a large group of staff to instruct those teachers. Rather, instruct the students.
Thanks, Ken. Next, we have Tanya B. Tanya, I have promoted you to panelist. Feel free to show your video and share your comment. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Tanya Byers. I live at 275 Tom Hunter Road. I wasn't clear, was it mentioned that the nighttime cleaning crew would no longer be working? And if that is true, will there be a new cleaning? Okay, so the nighttime cleaning crew is still there. Mm-hmm. Okay, okay, wonderful. And then another thing I wanted to say is, excuse me, someone mentioned something to me about the fire drills for the kindergartners, that there was a device, it's like a rope, and it has little handles on it. So if they use that to keep them together, it can be disinfected. So thank you all for your time.
Yeah, we're looking at multiple options like that.
Thanks.
Thanks, Tanya. Next, we will have David Smith. David, I've promoted you to panelist. Feel free to show your video and share your comment.
Hey, what's going on? This is David Smith. I'm at 1080 Kingsland Lane. I hopefully have a couple quick questions. So I went through the registration for my daughter for kindergarten, but I haven't got any confirmation whether or not she's actually registered or not. I assume that's why I didn't receive the survey. So I'm just trying to figure out if there's someone I need to contact to say that, hey, my daughter is going to be 100% remote. And in that, what's the ESL program going to look like for 100% remote kids? Of course, I'm native English speaker, but my daughter isn't necessarily. So I'm curious what that is going to be like. And then I had a friend who was going to send her son to a private school that their plan is 100% in-person classes. So they decided not to go there, and they're curious if registration is still available for the school district at this time, or is it too short notice?
Well, I'll kind of go backwards, Mr. Smith. Any Fort Lee resident is entitled to register at the school. So they are entitled to come. If they live in town, they can register to attend school at any time. Number two is about ESL.
Yes.
ESL is going to be a program it'll happen. Dr. Amato might be able to share a little more specifics about that.
Yes, for the first couple of weeks of school, we will be screening all of our students who might be eligible for English as a second language services. And then we will be following our district curriculum, either remotely or face-to-face, depending upon the needs of each individual building. But our staff will be providing ESL. We also provide training to all of our regular classroom teachers, and we're going to be supporting them in providing ESL in the remote hybrid model that our school district has selected for delivery. So we will be supporting our English language learners, as well as some of our bilingual children, those children who speak Korean, Spanish, and Chinese.
Thanks, Dr. Amato.
Is
Mr.
Japanese
Smith,
one of those languages? Sorry.
Yes, Japanese, yes, yes.
Okay, thank you.
what was your daughter's name? What is your daughter's name, rather? I'm sorry.
Kofuyu Smith.
Can you spell that for me, and I'll follow up about the registration.
Kofuyu. And Smith of all names.
Someone will get back to you tomorrow about that.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. The next person for public comment is Margarita Lagodner. Margarita, I will promote you to panelist. Feel free to share your video and your comment.
Hello, can you hear me? Саша, меня не слышат. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good.
No, can you see her?
No,
can't see her.
I didn't share the screen. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes. So, like, first, and I think it's kind of a little rude that, Mr. Rota answers some parents and does not provide any feedback to other parents. I understand that probably some questions are hard to answer, but for example, we had a president of the PTA, who is Julian, talking about several aspects. She's the president of PTA of one of the schools, and I kind of just feel it was a little rude. So in particular, she had a question about probably options of morning and afternoons. So if Mr. Rota can address that, if this option was discussed. I have another question about Wednesdays off. I understand that cleaning is going to be done in the evenings because the school is only until 1 o'clock. So I don't know, I know there is also aftercare, but I understand that disinfection is going to be done in the afternoon. So personally, if something is not going to be clean in the evening, within 7 days, cleaning once in 7 days is not going to help. The virus actually will be gone in 7 days. So I'm not sure this 1 day, which is completely off, why is it required? Because let me tell you, for the middle school, we don't even have it twice a week for 4 hours. We have it probably 4 or 5 days a month. For the middle school, it's 3 cohorts, and I'm really, really concerned about the quality of the education based on what we had last semester. Whereas the kindergartens, the social interaction is the key, but for the middle school, the quality of the education is a big concern. So they will have only 4 days a week instruction, 4 days a month. So I wonder if the Wednesday probably can be reconsidered for the middle school at least, because that's like really, really, difficult for parents who work and for kids to sit for more than a week at home, not seeing anyone. And the last question is a comment actually. As we do understand, it's hard to put together, the Zoom program, but on the other hand, we had college teaching all over the country via Zoom. starting a week after the pandemic started. We had some old professor, 70 years old college professor, had to put Zoom teaching together. And now we have almost half a year from the start of the pandemic. So really a person with a college degree can figure out how to enter Zoom and share the screen. And I understand there are problems, there is a way, way to the improvement, to improve it, but generally speaking, the entire college system has been doing it for several months. Thank you. So there was the question about if it was discussed morning and afternoons, and the college experience. Maybe you have to reach out to some college system, for their feedback. Thank you.
Thank you, Margarita. Unfortunately, Ken's internet is.
I just came back in case.
Okay. Thank you.
I apologize for that. My internet here went down. I did hear the first part of the question, and I apologize to the parents and to Ms. Stasu if I did not answer the question. What I will say is that as far as the morning and afternoon session, it was discussed amongst several groups. It was also one area in the parent survey where the parents demonstrated a strong opposition to that idea of having a split day AM PM type of session. So that was one of the things that was evident in the survey. Obviously, my intent is not to be rude or to not acknowledge anyone, and I apologize if that happened. Number two is I did not get the second part of the question, something about college. Dr. Amato, maybe you can step in if you heard the whole question. I wasn't sure.
Well, yes, the comment was around the fact that as far as utilizing technology, colleges are equipped, and even elderly college professors are now utilizing these new technologies. And our teachers are well trained and poised to use whatever technology is available to them and to their students so that we can deliver the curriculum to the best of our ability. We are going to be providing some professional development throughout the month of August in utilizing Google Classroom and Seesaw and all of the other types of technology that will support student learning. So we are, to the best of our ability, utilizing whatever is available to us, to our teachers, and hopefully, and we're pretty certain that our kids are going to get the best possible instruction that we could provide.
Yeah, that professional development is actually ongoing already, thanks to in large part to the efforts of Mrs. Spahn, who's our middle school media specialist. She has done a great job in organizing and arranging and putting it out. So there are sessions ongoing right now throughout the entire month for our staff on teaching strategies and instructional tools to use in a remote setting.
Thank you. I will now promote Kyle Sanford. I'll promote you to panelist. Feel free to share your video and your public comment. Kyle?
Okay. Hi, how are you? Kyle Sanford, 809 Harvard Place, Fort Lee, New Jersey. How are you guys doing today? All right, I have about 5 questions. Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can.
Okay. All right. One, how will the aftercare program work? And well, how will the aftercare program work? That's one. 2, explain on or when school may reopen fully, or do you have a plan ready in effect for that? How long or how, whatever, an explanation. How many kids do you anticipate per classroom in every class? And on the road back, on Murphy's Law thing, we don't have anything in there. On Murphy's thing, on the continuity of learning, the technology and connectivity, each school district should strive to ensure that every student has access to device or internet connectivity. District should prioritize the provision of technology, alternative in-person instruction to students that are otherwise without access. It should include in the reopening plan steps taken to address the technology need and handle as soon as possible. And then professional learning. It is imperative that the district provide professional learning that will be better equip leaders, staff, substitute students, and parents, caregivers to adapt altered education environments and experiences. Among the most critical focus are creating to address the learning loss for the most critical of students, vulnerable populations, students with disabilities, English language learners, students without proper technology or internet access, etc., and preparing support education and meeting the social, emotional health, and academic needs of all the students. And finally, did anybody ask the students how they feel how this is going to go? You know, I'm sure they have questions too. I'm sure we could put out a survey there so that you can see how the students going to feel about going back to school too. But I personally, my daughter, we don't know where we're sending her or what we're going to do. But some of the aftercares have internet, some of it doesn't. So what do I do as a parent if she can't get online to get connectivity? So I mean, you know, some of it's limited. So explain to me how is my daughter? If I have to go to work and my wife has to go to work, what are the options there? It says here they have to be provided. So explain to me what do I do? I don't know. That's it.
Okay, Mr. Sanford, I'll try and kind of work back through. Well, if I'll start with aftercare, will be provided through the same contractor we have used in the past, and they be sending out. I believe they already sent out registration information for those parents who choose that. As far as the professional development, as I just mentioned, that's been ongoing for the parents. We're going to hopefully provide some towards the end of the month for parents as well to understand some of the tools that teachers are using. The teachers are, as I said, it's ongoing right now. In the past, when it started in the spring, we did a survey from parents, and we were very fortunate to have 100% connectivity in the district based on parental responses. So we are going to do that survey again to assure that, and if we can provide assistance to families who need devices or connectivity, we will approach that through the building principals, keeping that list and contacting parents. And I think I may have missed one in the middle, I'm not sure.
Yeah, just you have a plan on fully reopening. What's the plan? Well, and you know, what's the plan on fully reopening or not fully reopening or whatever? I understand it involves metrics. I understand what it involves, but is there a plan in place, or what are we looking at here? Is what I'm saying. What are we? Does that give an idea?
Yeah, in the plan, you know, we're going to reassess based on what's happening in the community with the pandemic situation, and what we would like to do is gradually increase the number of students coming back to, you know, a full-time, eventually getting back to full-time. But really, that's going to be dictated by the conditions in the community and the health situation.
And how many kids do you anticipate in the classroom? That was the other one I asked.
Right now, we anticipate no more than 14 in a room.
14 in a room, okay.
No more than 14. I think it's going to be less than that once we have accounted for all the.
13, so.
Yeah, I think we're going to have. 13,
so.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
New York instituted 13. So I said New York instituted 13. So no classroom.
So yeah, we're working through that. Once we get the responses from parents about the remote students, I think that number will be less. But our goal is to kind of work in a phase pattern if the health situation allows us to bring more students back, you know, as quickly as feasible and as safe. I think no one wants to be back in full time more than the educators.
What about the kids? Are you going to panel those or ask them how they feel about going back to school? And are we going to do that?
We have not surveyed any of the students now, but that could be something we bring up and see what their ideas are.
I think that would be a good idea. Because, you know, how they feel. So.
Thank you, Mr. Sanford.
Thank you.
The next public comment will come from Catherine Conrad. Catherine, I am promoting you to panelist. Feel free to share your video and your public comment. Catherine?
Hi. Yeah, that unmute button is always very helpful in these situations. First of all, I would like to just acknowledge that this was never going to be perfect, and it was never going to be a plan that was going to fit every parent. Obviously, there are parents, including myself, that this inhibits and hinders, but you know, we have to understand that this is not forever. This is hopefully a very short stint in our child's education that we will be in this situation. I do want to give a very big shout out to Mrs. Karam at School 2, who was our 3rd grade teacher, and the Zoom quality education that we got from her was consistent from the very beginning of the pandemic to the very end. So in that shout out, if there is anyone that would have great ideas on how to blend all of this, she's probably going to send me an email. She was fantastic. It was seamless, and we were very, very happy with what we received in terms of the education for our child. Middle school, there was some problems there, as this is all new to everyone, and we are still in a pandemic. That is where we are at this point in time. I would ask, as I have not heard, the plans for contact tracing. That was not mentioned within the video. Can we hear some of the plan, or is there some type of protocol that has been put in place by the health department? That would be very helpful if there is one.
And right now, there is no one in the school district that has been trained in contact tracing. In my discussions with our health officer in town, what I was told was that is her responsibility. So our protocol would be, if we have a student who are suspicious or may have symptoms and we send them out, we would inform her. Particularly, obviously, if we have a student or a staff member who indicates they have a positive test, we would immediately contact the health department and they would conduct the contact tracing. And obviously, the district will provide any assistance possible.
So there is no one trained on your staff or at the Board of Ed that is trained in the contact tracing yet?
Not yet, no.
Okay, but that will happen prior to school starting, correct?
Well, we have a few people who are getting involved in it and trying to learn about it, but primarily it'll work through the Board of Health, and we will be providing assistance in any way they need.
Okay, so as we embark on this next chapter, that's something that as a parent, we need to have in order to feel safe to send our kids to school. Because if there is no one there's one person that should have training and does not, there are several other schools within our district that would need to be facilitated in that way. That understanding as a parent is a little uncomfortable, considering the reason we're in this situation is because we're in a pandemic, because of something that needs to be traced. So I would ask that be something that's not just paramount by one person, but that you have a focus group of people at each and every location that is trained before school starts. The other thing that I would like to recommend is we are sending out these surveys to plethora of students. I would really ask that these be translated into Korean, Spanish, Chinese, and Japanese for those parents that English is not their first language. You are asking them to communicate back in a language that they may not be comfortable with. In order to make informed decisions, they need to have this access to them as well. So if there is a way for that to happen, that would be greatly needed within our community, considering we are a very diverse group of people. And again, thank you very much. This plan did not come lightly, I'm sure, as you're all facing it on a human front, and just really do appreciate all of the hard work that went in that. With that being said, I don't have anything else to say.
Thank you.
Miss Esther, if I could just interject real quick.
Sure.
Sure. So I actually did take the contact tracing course from Johns Hopkins, and I am working on the second level, learning more about Contessa and that as well. So I don't know if Ms. Conrad, that kind of might ease your worry a little bit. I am trying to stay privy to what's out there and accessible to people who are in that field.
That is very helpful. We have a huge community base in our town that works at Columbia University. We have clinicians, doctors, nurses. We're all getting trained for contact tracing. It's not just one person. We all have to understand the impact that this would take on our community. And I would hope again that the board would take some note in having a person at each school that has had this training, not just you. That this isn't just one person.
I agree. Yep.
So. Again, but I do really thank you for being honest and transparent with that. and very much appreciate that.
Thank you. The other thing I just wanted to add is that, you know, unlike a lot of towns in Bergen County, we do have our own Board of Health, and we actually do have a health officer. I think in that aspect, we are lucky, and they are staffed. It's not just one individual in our Board of Health, you know, so she does have a staff of people, and I think they've actually done a pretty good job throughout the pandemic, you know, with the contact tracing. So I think we are, you know, I think Ken has been in constant contact with her, so I do have, you know, full confidence that in terms of their abilities to help us and lead us, you know, and guide us during this whole process. So, you know, I'm not too worried in terms of that we're going into this blindly. We are being, you know, assisted and led by trained professionals on this.
The next person for public comment is Owana. Owana, I will promote you to panelist. Feel free to share your video and your public comment.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Hi, how are you? So I had two comments and a question. So I have two younger children. One is going into kindergarten and second grade. And so my first comment is I think it would be very helpful to be able to feel like as a parent that we are able to easily transition our kids if we do choose one option versus the other, that we don't have to wait until, you know, the next marking period or those kinds of things. I understand you guys, you know, have to plan ahead, but it also, you know, obviously information changes, you know, day by day, week by week. So having that flexibility would be really important. The other thing, to echo some of the other folks who are two working parents, so our household is also two working parents, and obviously there's going to be less time, educational time, less time in the classroom, more virtual teaching, and obviously, you know, that poses challenges. So really, if there can be an emphasis on fundamentals and what is really important for these kids to learn, you know, everybody is stressed. I'm sure all of you are. I'm sure, you know, our kids are stressed. We are stressed. And, you know, there's a lot of burden that is now placed on the parents, as I think you can hear, you know, in some of the speakers that have already gone before me. So, you know, I was finding myself, and I only had one child going to school in the spring, so I'll have two now, you know, doing a lot of work when I got home from work, which was challenging. So I think emphasis on fundamentals and what kids really need to know, and not so much on busy work, and also a component, because again, we will not have folks at home who can really sit with the child and do schoolwork as we would be, or as a teacher would be. So giving them some stuff that they can do more independently, and some stuff that, you know, they can do engaging with a teacher, hopefully, would be great. Okay, sorry, those are my two comments, and I'll try to be brief in my questions. One, you know, we haven't, you know, really decided what we're doing, quite honestly. But I think especially for the younger grades, you know, my kindergartner, going to be kindergartner, it is really important for her to have some contact and meet the teacher, even if she is going to be doing more virtual learning. So I wonder if there is sort of a component of even the virtual you know, students who are able to, you know, meet the teachers or engage on some level. The other part is obviously transmission is higher indoors. I don't know what the oh, sorry, is that my time? Sorry, I just want to finish this one point. Transmission is obviously higher indoors, and you know, I don't know what the air filtration system is like inside the classrooms. But is there also a focus on outdoor learning and having the kids outside, and how is that being incorporated? I think there was a line or so in the plan about it, and I was just wondering if you could speak to that at all. Thank you so much for your time.
Sure. We're hoping to have kindergarten orientation coming up before the start of school. Right now, that would have to be virtual because of the limit of 25, that capacity. So that's one thing. Secondly, we were planning to incorporate the use of our outdoor spaces as much as possible, weather permitting. Obviously that'll be a factor. There are spaces around all the buildings outside where they can conduct classes and do some activities. And we'll be encouraging and supporting the teachers who do that as best we can. As I said, obviously weather permitting, it is New Jersey, and we'll see how long we're able to sustain that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The next person for public comment is Jojo. Jojo, I'm going to promote you to panelist. Feel free to share your video and your public comment. Jojo?
Do you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry. It's Josefa Sion Santana. Sorry, this is my kids' Zoom that I set up for them. So I know that there's no size fits all. I guess my question and my concern is we need to put a more emphasis on remote, right? Because you should be getting the same experience that you're getting remote that you are getting in school. There's really no reason for it. I mean, I work on a virtual global team where we're having offsites globally. Why can't we do that with schools? I think that we're putting a lot of emphasis and not really thinking that our kids are really resilient. My personal experience, my kids did amazing, both of them. They were got up every morning, they sat at the computer, they did what they needed to do. We had amazing teachers. Not everybody's like that. I understand not every kid is going to be like that. But I also think that in today's technology, if they're teaching in a classroom, why can we stream that while they're teaching and the kids join through Zoom at the same time? So you have kids that are home that are remote and you have an actual teacher in the classroom. So whoever's remote is joining that classroom, and then maybe you'll be able to do, the 8 to 3. It's just a thought. I don't know if you guys thought about that. And I was one of the parents at the middle school. And I didn't agree with the morning and the afternoon because parents that work in the city, if you're dropping off your kid at 8 o'clock, you're not picking them up at 1 o'clock. And then in the afternoon, you're not bringing them at 1 o'clock to pick them up at 3. I think that's not feasible. So I don't know if you have any
I was just
feedback on the remote and actually streaming that live learning class.
Yeah, I was just giving you a chance to finish, that's all.
Yeah.
That is our plan, that we will be live streaming, probably not through Zoom, but through Google Meets. We've had more success with the Google application than with Zoom. So that is the plan, to use that live streaming type of technology. And I agree with you, our kids are amazingly resilient, and we're going to be counting on that even more, and hopefully be able to really develop this program and keep them where they need to be.
Right. And then my last question is, are you going to offer for those parents that are sending their kids to school, like a virtual tour of what that school setting looks like, right? Because if I want to go stay at a hotel, an Airbnb, or buy a new house, I can go virtually and walk through that house. Are you guys going to offer that? Because I think the parents will feel safer, or have some kind of reassurance like, hey, this is what the classroom, kind of like a day in the life of a child coming into school. What does that look like?
That's going to be our plan for
morning, your temperatures. So that's the thought.
Yes, that's a thought we have too. We're looking to put that into place, particularly at the transition grades for those students. The students who are moving to a new building, we'd like them to have that some familiarity, even if it is through a virtual type of tour or meeting.
Got it. Okay. And
Thank you. Your time has expired. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next person for public comment is Julian's mom, April. April, I'm promoting you to panelist. Feel free to share your video and your public comment.
Okay, can you hear me?
We can.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. So thank you very much. And I know obviously there's a lot of passion from the phone, and I think the parents are trying to voice their own opinion. So here, I think I would want to spend the time just on the remote class themselves. So based on the comments today, I think there's several questions around the specifics of the remote class. It feels like the plan is not fully developed. So my overarching question is, would the parents be able to have some input on how you specifically develop the remote teaching process? And here, what I'm more referring to is the process of maybe sharing school materials and maybe sharing the evaluation approaches throughout the year as the teacher is still trying to monitor the progress of the student. I think last spring, it wasn't very apparent to me how my kids were getting evaluated. So I think the comment here is just, I know we're pretty dependent on the remote learning, but is there any way we can collaborate to maybe still let us take on some portion of the learning, but maybe have the option of doing it offline, less digitally than fully digital? So I was planning on, I have a list of ideas. I know it's a long time, maybe not enough time to go through all of them, but I would hope to follow it up and send an email to Mr. Rhoda, just so some of our requests are being made. So examples are writing assignments. Can we have a full list of what these topics will be rather than having the teacher send out a topic every day? And then it will be just really difficult for working parents to check emails in the morning and making sure small kids can really follow the specific request of that particular day. So maybe you can give us a longer horizon plan for the entire semester. What is the expectation? What is the specific topics, maybe by week or by month, that the student is expected to achieve, so that at least we can work with our kids maybe at a more reasonable pace. Some of times maybe saving the busy work, sometimes maybe more focused on the fundamentals, like one of the other parents mentioned. So I think that's it. I just want to really hear the comments on what would be the opportunity for us to collaborate on these more details on the remote learning plan.
I think a good start would be to send me that email you just mentioned.
Yeah.
And let me take a look at that, and I'll always share it with the administrators in the district, and we will work towards that idea of reaching out. Maybe there was, as I mentioned, we're going to have those building meetings, be an opportunity there to speak with parents about their ideas.
Yeah, so then maybe one other thing is slightly separate is during the springtime, we had the opportunity to have very small school meetings. I don't know how the teacher managed to do that, but I think there were times we are on a virtual classroom of just 5 to 6 kids where the teacher can give very high quality instruction. I know that might not be very feasible, but I'm thinking whether we can be more, dynamics on how do we have to have the teacher just lecture the student, or can we just focus on having them just teach a small group breakout session only and have maybe other approaches, maybe the parents help out on the lecture part with their own kids.
Yeah, and I think that's part of what will roll out from the remote instruction, that it won't just be a lecture. I think, part of it, particularly at the younger grades, you'll have teachers breaking out reading groups and math groups and working independently with them while the other students are working independently on something else.
Okay, very good. So I'll send you the email. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next person for public comment is Jill Artis. Jill, I will promote you to panelist. Please feel free to share your video and your public comment. You have 3 minutes.
Hi. How are you?
We are well.
Okay, so I'm Michael Artsis. Jill is right here. And I just wanted to say that I think that I heard a lot of people speak tonight, and I think that it's very sad that people are I understand that everybody has to make money, but it seems like we're putting public safety and our children's safety ahead of the almighty dollar. And I'm not okay with that. I think that we don't have a safe plan in place. We're not taking temperatures And I quite frankly don't think that the students should be in school at this point. 100,000 kids have recently in the last 2 weeks been infected by this coronavirus that we think that we originally said doesn't affect youngsters. We then said that it doesn't affect anybody under the age of 65, really. We see that that's wrong. We were told we shouldn't wear masks. We see that that's wrong. I don't know how you keep a mask on a kid or kids all day long. My son pulled my mask off the other day playing with me, and I wasn't happy about it. So I just think we should be very careful about what we're doing and how we're doing it. And I don't understand the half this, half that model. It doesn't really make any sense. We're either all in or we're all out. And I think that we should be much more careful than we are. I understand that the governor has said we have to have some in-school schooling. I don't understand why. I'm in the video business. I've been live streaming for years. I don't understand why we can't teach our children the way we normally teach them over Zoom. Somebody just said that. It's been driving me nuts. The teachers have been getting paid, and we've been doing the work. And that's where the parents are right. We can't work and teach our kids. It's impossible. But there's no reason that the teachers can't continue to teach. And by the way, Jack had a wonderful teacher last year, Miss Pallone. She was unbelievable. And I think that she still did work, but we should be doing this over Zoom or other video conferencing methods if Zoom isn't the right one. This is a very clunky Zoom. I can't stand it. My point is we should not be putting safety of the community behind the almighty dollar, and we should be very careful about how we approach this. What's the point of sending them to school for 2 days? You might as well send them for all 5 at that point. What's the point of not protecting our children? And that's the thing. One kid gets it, the whole school's going to get it. The next districts, the next area is going to get it. School 4, school 1, school 3, the middle school, the high school. This is spreads like wildfire, and people really underestimate how dangerous it is. It could take a guy who's young like me and take me to my knees, and it could kill me. We've seen perfectly healthy people dying. So I think we just better really tread lightly and be very smart about how we're doing this. And I think we're just throwing ideas up and not actually thinking smart. We have a lot of smart people at the school, as educators, and in the community that could all lend a hand and come together instead of just all yelling at each other. That's my feeling. Thank you for listening.
I respect your comments, Mr. Artsis, and I do want you to know that we are planning right now to do temperature screening for all the students and staff each morning. That's one of the things we are doing. I think that the most difficult part of what we're going through with this disease is the unknown, and that's the problem. So that's a challenge for all of us. But I appreciate what you're saying.
Can we standardize masks at least? Can we get filters in the masks and say, this is the mask, it says Fort Lee, school 1, school 2, school 3, whatever, we'll all buy them. The Vistaprint makes them. Let's standardize masks and get filters in every one of them.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
The next person for public comment is DE. DE, I'm going to promote you to panelist. Feel free to share your video and your public comment. Please start with your name and address. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, yes, this is Delilah. I live in Abbott Boulevard. My question was, I have a child with an IEP plan who was taking some additional courses aside from the regular standard process for typical children. I haven't heard anything about covering that gap for kids with IP. That's one question. And the other one was, I heard a lot of feedback about what the school is doing to have kids go back to school. And I didn't see that much focus on what is the plan to provide our kids with a quality education, whether they are at school or at home. So I would like to learn more about what the teachers are going to be doing different this year, how they're going to improve the videos that they provide, the instructions, the classes, the actual quality of the material. If you compare a 5-day, 7-hour schedule that our kids used to have versus 4 hours, 4 days, there's obviously a bigger gap to close than there is already closed in the amount of classes itself. So what is the school doing? Will they be providing videos that kids could take at any time to learn more? Will the school be providing special classes in the afternoon, even if it's only online, to close that gap? What measures is the school taking to improve the actual quality of the classes that the kids take, whether it's online or in the school?
Okay, well, for starters, the teachers are engaged right now in ongoing professional development, and I think the spring was a huge learning experience, and they've been becoming better equipped and better able to develop a higher quality production like you're talking about, and higher quality resources for the students. Any student who has an IEP, my suggestion would be to contact the case manager for the student to find out the specific program that's been set aside for that student. I think that's your best source of information. We are also talking about providing extra online classes or in-person classes, however we can work it out, to provide support for those students who may need it across the board, whether they are IEP students or general education students. So we are looking to do that as well, to provide students with another extra opportunity to reinforce their skills.
Oh, can I still use my allotted time, or is my time up?
You have 4 seconds left. Your time is up. Sorry.
If you have specific questions, you can always email me directly.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The next person for public comment is Serena. Serena, I will promote you to panelist. Feel free to share your video and your public comment. You have 3 minutes. Serena?
Sorry, I was muted. So I just have a couple questions. The first question is 2 parts. What are we doing to try and guarantee that the survey that went out about remote learning, we're going to get 100% feedback back from the parents? And with the probability of getting 100% feedback is minimal. So what happens to those families who we don't hear from? What do we assume that they're going to do? The second question is, if these survey results show that the in-person student numbers in a particular school are going to be low enough, would it be possible at all to add back some in-person teaching days? Mostly because the middle school and the high school I know are on a, they're basically going to school for 1 full school day every 10 days. And I know, the younger kids are going for 1 full school day a week in person. So is there any plans in place where we can try and get a little bit more in-person learning for our students?
The survey results we're looking at, obviously, I don't think we ever get 100% response in any survey in any situation. We have had very good response so far, so we're allowing it to run a few more days, and then we'll see what happens. Based on those numbers, it may be possible to change some of what we do. If the numbers are really indicative, particularly at the high school and the middle school.
I apologize. Mr. Rota's internet seems to have gone out.
Okay.
He froze.
That's okay. I think he pretty much answered the question, is that you guys can reevaluate based on some of the numbers and add back some time for the kids in person.
Right.
Okay.
For the families who don't reply, we are planning, we're assuming that they're going to be participating in the hybrid situation.
Okay.
Thank you, Serena.
Thank you.
The next person for public comment is Linda Otero. Linda, I will promote you to panelist. Feel free to share your video and your public comment. You have 3 minutes. Linda? Amy? Amy, this may be Amy Kotang. I'm going to promote you to panelist. Feel free to share your video and your public comment. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Okay. Hi, how are you, everyone? Thank you for working extra hard this summer to put a plan together. I just have 3 points to share with the board member and Mr. Rhoda tonight. The first one pertaining to online learning. As we know, all the students participating in online instruction are supposed to receive the same quality of instructions. In the plan that was shared, it's quite uncertain what that would look like. And having participated in some of the earlier planning meetings, there have been a lot of focus on the hybrid learning, which I applaud. Everyone worked hard to to come up with a plan, but it also leaves very little time to focus fully on improving online instructions. And back in March, teachers and educators were all caught off guard by the pandemic and really didn't have the tools and training to engage our kids online to help them achieve or to attain a similar quality instructions. And often these lessons were passive and revolve around online video that we watch with our kids and worksheets. And quality of the programming would vary from teacher to teacher. And so to avoid repeat, we want to urge the board to really get a working group together to work on the online remote learning part of reopening. We think that a comprehensive plan, if a comprehensive plan can be shared with parents, it would give parents some sort of comfort whether or not they want to send their kids back to the classroom or leave them at home for remote learning. So to that effect, I want to ask, when will that comprehensive remote learning plan be communicated, and will you help parents to reassure them that teachers are trained and what programs and what training development they are taking to help with that? My second point is related to quarantine policy. As much as I believe we have a full functioning Department of Health in town, there should be a clear policy what the district will do when one child or one staff is tested positive. That should not be something we find out on the day of, as this situation is a very real scenario. If that does happen, that would also impact a parent's decision whether or not I want to send my kids back home. And in my own personal experience, when my child was in a classroom where the teacher was tested positive back in March, not in Fort Lee, but their Sunday language school, there was no policy in place, and it left parents, families, very, very uncertain about what to do. Just very quickly, one last question, one last ask is if we can share surveys with parents and families every time we take them. I get questions from parents about what do other parents say, what are the results. So we ask that you please consider sharing those results.
One of the major concerns that I've had through all this is that the districts have not received excuse me, specific guidance from the DOE or the State Department of Health regarding those medical situations. It is a request we've made for the past several months, and we are still hoping to get something at some point that'll give us specific protocol and policy to follow in the event of a student or staff illness. So that's been an ongoing thing. We are working with our present health officer to come up with the best solutions we can and to put the best protocol and policy into place based on what we know. But that has been a huge gap that we have not received any of that we've requested that. As far as the online learning, as I said, there's PD going on right now for the teachers. They are working to expand those skills, and we're hopefully continue to do that. We are developing a plan, a more specific plan. As I said earlier, we started with a larger plan, and now we are in the process of fine-tuning, getting down to the more tight details to share with parents. As soon as that's ready, it'll go out to the parents.
Do you expect, do you expect that in the next, sorry, do you expect that before parents need to articulate which program the kids, they want to enroll their kids? I believe that that would make a big difference in how I make my decision in other families.
Well, we're working on it as quickly as we can. And I forgot the last thing you asked about, Amy.
We had parents asking about survey results.
Oh, survey results, yeah. Some of the survey results, some of the surveys contain, family and parent information. So I'd have to edit that to make sure that I don't release any information that I'm not entitled to.
Understood. Will you be able to do that prior to school starts so parents know what?
I will try and add it to my list of things to get done. So yes, I'll do the best we can to get that out.
Thank you, Mr. Rota.
Thank you. You have no more questions from the public. Thank you, Ms. Kotang. We have an additional, uh-oh, 6 hands. This is wonderful.
Okay, I was also, I think Linda, who called on before Amy, tried to get on before. I don't know if she, you're timing me out.
Esther, I'm sorry, your time is up.
Linda's.
I couldn't resist.
I think Linda got disconnected, and I don't see her name in the list with a raised hand. So I'm not sure if she had some internet connectivity problem. The next person with a raised hand is Vincent Castellano. Vincent, I'm going to promote you to panelist. Feel free to share your video and your public comment. You have 3 minutes. Victor?
Hi, my name is Eva Castellano, Vincent, my son. I just wanted to say, or ask a question. I tuned in a little bit later, so I'm not sure if it was asked before, but just one quick question. My son is in a special needs class, and we have a little bit of a trouble wearing a mask. I mean, he can wear it, of course, when he needs to, but, extended time is a little bit hard. So I was wondering, how that will work in case, they're not able to wear a mask all of the time. Will he be sent home?
Well, the 2 exceptions that are permitted according to the CDC guideline is, 1 is if it would cause a health issue, and number 2 is if the student is unable due to a disability. So my suggestion would be to reach out to the case manager that you work with regarding your son and share your concerns. But those are 2 exceptions to the rule from the CDC guidelines. So if that's the case, there probably is an accommodation they can make within the room where your son will be located.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to say we received ESY during the summer, and it went really well. So I think it's a step in the right direction, I have to say. So
thank you.
But we'll try go in person. We'll see how that goes. I mean, he really needs to go back to school. So, but I have to say, that was a huge improvement when I saw that. So thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Hey, Keisha, you're on mute. Keisha, you're mute, yeah.
Thank you. I have promoted, I think I've promoted Andre. I've promoted Andre. Hi, Andre. Please share your comment. You have 3 minutes.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. I'm Andre Pastianis from North Central Road. And thank you so much for all the hard work for trying to put in, the best plan for our kids, for our teachers, for the community in these crazy times. I think, Mr. Rota, you mentioned that none of the parents expressed difficulties with internet connectivity or with technical aspects of online learning. So we have internet connections, And middle schoolers, high schoolers, they have Chromebooks, which was lifesaver, I guess, for many families. So we're good on the technological side, but nevertheless, I know from my kids' experience, and since most of the learning will be online, if not all eventually, are there any plans to provide kids with physical textbooks? It might be helpful not only for the kids, but for parents as well, because we might be we are part-time teachers for our for the kids nowadays. Thank you so much. That was my question.
That is something we've been discussing about how we would distribute those. And actually, in some cases, more so in the high school level, we don't have physical textbooks because we rely on the online version. We do have some classroom sets. But for the younger students, that's something we've discussed to get them out to the parents. It's just a question of finding a safe delivery method that we could use.
Thank you.
But something we're considering, yes.
Yeah, that would be extremely helpful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And the last thing I will share is that Kyle has his hand raised. Kyle, because you've already had 3 minutes, I will ask that you share any additional comments with your building principal and or the superintendent. President Hans Silver, there are no further questions or comments from public.
All right. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate everyone's patience. I appreciate all the comments and questions from everybody. So thank you for everyone for sharing. May I have a motion to close the floor to the public?
Motion.
Motion, a second.
Okay, motion Tuck, seconded by Morel. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? All right, moving on to resolutions. May I have a motion to approve item 1B?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, motion Tuck, seconded Morel.
Ms. Cho.
Yes.
Sorry, President Hans Silver, I was a little anxious. Ms. Colbath.
Yes.
Mr. DeMeglio.
Yes.
Ms. Morel.
Yes.
Ms. Richter.
Yes.
Ms. Ramba.
Yes.
Mr. Rubino.
Yes.
Ms. Tuck.
Yes.
Ms. Hans Silver.
Yes.
Motion passes.
May I have a motion to approve item 1CUR?
Motion Ramba. Second.
Okay, motion Ramba, second Tuck.
Ms. Cho.
Yes.
Ms. Colbath.
Yes, with the understanding that this is a work in progress and that we're going to take into account all of the thoughtful comments that were made.
That's what it says.
So noted. Mr. DeMeglio.
Yes.
Ms. Morel.
No.
Did Holly said yes?
No, she said no.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Ms. Morel. Ms. Richter.
Abstain.
Ms. Ramba.
Yes.
Mr. Rubino.
No.
Ms. Tuck.
Yes, and I echo Paula's thoughts.
So noted. Ms. Hans Silver.
Yes.
Well, our time is up. We have to go.
Ms. Hans Silver, that was a yes?
Yeah, yes. That was
Thank you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Motion passes.
All right. May I have a motion to approve items 1F through 13F?
Motion Ramba.
Second, Richter.
Okay, motion Ramba, second Richter.
Ms. Cho.
Yes.
Ms. Colbath.
Yes.
Mr. DeMeglio.
Yes.
Ms. Morel.
Yes.
Ms. Richter.
Yes.
Ms. Ramba.
Yes.
Mr. Rubino.
Yes.
Ms. Tuck.
Yes.
Ms. Hans Silver.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. May I have a motion to approve items 1P through 18P?
Motion, Morel.
I just want to note that 6P is as amended.
Second Ramba.
As amended. Thank you. Okay. Motion Morel, seconded by Ramba.
Ms. Cho.
Yes.
Ms. Colbath.
Yes, except I abstain on one name on 6P for the reasons discussed in private.
So noted. Mr. DeMiglia,
Yes.
Ms. Morel,
Yes.
Ms. Richter,
Yes to all except 6P. I am voting no.
so noted. Ms. Ramba,
Yes.
Mr. Rubino,
Yes, with the exception of 6P.
and what is your vote on 6P?
No.
The whole thing. So noted. Where's Tuck?
Yes.
Ms. Silver?
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Motion passes.
May I have a motion to approve item 1 POL?
Motion Morel.
Second.
Second, Colbath.
Motion Morel, second Colbath.
That was seconded by Colbath.
Yes.
Yes.
Ms. Cho,
Yes.
Ms. Colbath,
Yes.
Mr. DeMeglio,
Yes.
Ms. Morel,
Yes.
Ms. Richter,
Yes.
Ms. Ramba,
Yes.
Mr. Rubino,
Yes.
Ms. Tuck,
Yes.
Ms. Silver.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, moving on. Is there any old business? Seeing none, I will ask, is there any new business?
And I don't know if the plan is old or new, but the sentiment was clearly that there are things that really need to be looked at closely on this. And I'm very focused on the amount of quality instruction time, whether it's virtual or in person, that students get. And I wrote to Ken separately on it. And I really think that this isn't something like, let's just wait and see how things start off. It's something that you've heard the public, you've heard board members, and really needs to be revisited tomorrow morning to see whether we can deliver more to our students. And I really want to emphasize that my yes was, very hesitant, and I'm counting on that the administration really rolls up their sleeves, looks at what other neighboring districts are doing. Kids are getting more instructional time. And I just implore you to listen to the public.
If I could piggyback on that, hopefully we can get a curriculum committee meeting scheduled on that topic. And I think it's also, though it's frustrating, it's important that we continue to monitor as districts in other states are opening. I saw a rather depressing article that said that Black and Hispanic children are more likely to be hospitalized and go to the ICU as a result of COVID. So I think there's a lot of layers to this and the equity of it, and this is brand new information, and we just have to continue with the frequent meetings to stay on top of it.
And my thing is that I was watching MSNBC today, and it said 97,000 children were new COVID cases in the last 2 weeks of July. And my fear, and I don't want to be a glass half empty, I just think it's not a matter of if, but when. And I think our role is to give them the best education they have, but in a situation that we're in now that we've never been in before. I just, to me, the paramount thing right now is their safety. And that's why my vote was the way it was. I am just really scared.
There's something called live streaming, and it can take place 8 to 3.
Absolutely. I'm all about that. I'm all about 42 minutes every class, take 42 minutes for lunch. I'm all about that. I just want our children to be safe.
And Ken, actually, because, we obviously have to have some component of in-person instruction, I do have a concern with the nurses' offices in the schools. I'm not sure where all the nurses' offices are located, but I do know school 4, school 2, they're located in the center of the building. They don't have any windows. And I think we'll be exposing the nurse and staff and administration that are even in those office spaces as well to possible exposure if we do have, we will inevitably have one case, I imagine. And just to make sure there's enough ventilation and proper, safety protocols placed, that would be really important.
Yeah, if you have one, you're having more.
Some of our buildings have a very good setup for the nurse. Others are, the older buildings do not. We have to make accommodations.
Right. Yeah.
Great, thank you, everybody. All right, I appreciate everyone's comments, and honestly, Ken's email is always open, so if things come to mind, send them on to him.
Yeah, President,
honestly, just because we're not meeting doesn't mean you can't send him your ideas and thoughts. Yes, Holly.
I'm sorry to jump in on you while you were talking. On a positive note, I just want to end on a positive note. So I wish Mr. Dominguez the best of luck. I know he'll do well for the district. He's done well already, and I only wish him the best.
Thank you. And also, also on a positive note, congrats to the AOF program on their, winning that award. So congrats to them.
Yes, that was a huge accomplishment. Huge.
Yeah. So, hey, let's recognize that our kids are doing great work here. They're being led by our teachers and they're doing great work. So thank you, everybody. My battery is getting drained and I made it through the night. So thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion, Morel.
Second, Ramba.
All right, motion, Morel, second, Ramba. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All right, any opposed or abstentions? All right, thank you, everyone. Have
Good night.
Good evening.
Good night.
Good
night, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye.